Hello, EDL 602 students. This is just a recap for week 3. Week 3, we're going to be discussing domains 3 and 4. So what I wanted to do was spend a moment going back through what domain 3 and 4 are to you. Now, keeping in mind, this is just an overview. You do have to read the 2 chapters to get a full understanding of what Carbo and Marzano is speaking to when they talk about domains 3 and 4. Domain 3 focuses on a continuous development of teachers and staff, which simply mean that you are going to ensure effective teaching practices. You're going to provide actionable feedback, you're going to align instruction to standards, and you're going to promote professional learning. So when we think about the continuous development of teachers and staff, we're thinking about professional development and how key that is to your staff. We're thinking about being intentional with our PLCs and making sure that we're just not in there meeting and greeting or doing the things that are the management of the school, but being very intentional that we're developing our teachers to make sure that they're aligning instruction so that they are providing the most up-to-date, efficient instruction to your students. And when we start talking about actionable feedback, we have to dig deep into what is actionable feedback. And we're going to talk a little bit about that on our next virtual class when we do a mock teacher evaluation. But in order to give feedback, you have to actually witness what's going on in classrooms. So as a leader, you have to be present. You have to walk the buildings and be in classroom to ensure that there are best practices taking place within the school. So with that, domain 3, continuous development of teachers and staff requires the school leader to be present. It requires the school leader to be always constantly growing so that they, as an administrator, know what alignment of instruction is and what core teaching standards are. So as we move into domain 4 and look at a community of care and collaboration, these two to me kind of fold in together because in order to build a collaborative culture, you as the leader have to set that tone. You have to provide spaces for your teachers to collaborate. You have to provide time. That top commodity of the day is the time. Once we've used it, we can't get it back. But you have to provide that time so that teachers are being able to collaborate. You have to provide the space in PLCs so that they're providing collective teacher efficacy, making sure that our PLCs are not just places where we are grading papers, because grading papers does not help you move forward in instruction. That is a place for professional development to be key. You have to ensure that you encourage shared responsibility. If you have a team of teachers, and I'm not speaking in smaller schools where there's just one person per grade, but if there ever is an opportunity where there's two or more, you have to make sure that we're sharing the responsibility of who's doing what in our planning, who's doing what when we're coming to the table with activities. You got to promote trust and communication. I can't talk about data if there's a room full of people who don't trust the process, that don't trust each other. You know, when we start talking about communication and trust, we're talking about being in a space where our PLCs are a place of mutual understanding and trust and collaboration. These 4 pillars kind of fold together because if we want to make sure that we have a community of care and collaboration, we are also of making sure the space is a place of trust and integrity, that we're not in competition. That's the thing I was searching for, that we're not in competition with people on our team. I always say we live and die as a team, and we collaborate in a sense that our teachers feel a piece of a place of peace when I go to my teammate and say, hey, I see your kiddos did so great on this standard. What are you all doing in your particular lessons that I may need to implement in mine? That's that community of collaboration where everybody feels supported and that the team feels like a team. And sometimes we have to build that within the system as the leader. We have to make sure that our teams feel supported. So that's just an overview of 3 and 4. Now, what I want to next for us to look at next is our Canvas module. Okay, that did not share. Let's try again. All right, you should be seeing the Canvas module for week 3. This instructor video, if you got there, you found me. Now, what I wanted to make sure I draw your attention to, I am sending you inbox messages because it's easier for me to send a blanket statement to the whole group at one time. But if you are having questions or you need to ask me something directly, please email me with your questions about your assignment. Make sure you're saying in your email, I'm questioning week 3 assignment around domains 3 and 4 so that you're very specific in what you're asking. Also, please add your section number, whether you are 81, 82, or 80 is essential because then it helps me go directly to your particular Canvas module. That's just so that you know that it will help me expedite my response to you and it narrows down the information that you need. So for week 3, you should be reading about domain 3 and domain 4. Domain 3 and 4 are your focus areas for this particular week. You're thinking about continuous improvement for teachers and staff and that culture of care and collaboration. Now, I'm going to get us into our Dropbox so we can see what is being asked of us this week. I want to make sure that we are reflecting back on the previous week because in the previous week, you've already picked your school-based scenario. You've already decided for these domain areas what you're going to focus on, whether it's a high poverty urban or rural elementary school dealing with the declining math and literacy scores, whether you're going to focus on a suburban middle school experiencing wide achievement gaps between student subgroups, or you're going to pick a urban rural high school that's struggling with curriculum alignment and inconsistent instruction. And in the last video in week 2, I kind of did a little bit of a deep dive into what those 3 areas mean. If you're questioning that, go back to week 2 and view that instructor's video. Now, as we're looking at these 3 categories or these 3 school scenarios, we're focusing in on the 2 questions. How would an administrator foster a culture of a continuous improvement for teachers and staff in an elementary school with declining math and literacy scores? How would you foster a culture of continuous improvement for teachers and staff in a suburban middle school that's experiencing wide achievement gaps between the subgroups? So make sure you're tying your question back to your scenario. How would an administrator build a culture of care and collaboration that would impact student success in an urban rural high school struggling with curriculum and alignment and inconsistent instruction? That is how you're answering these 2 questions. Just as a recap from last week, after you continue with the school scenario you chose in the prior week's lesson, you're going to make sure that you're using academic, third person academic tone. The school leader will, as an administrator, you're not going to be speaking from a third person place. From first person place where I will do this or I will do this. In my school, we will do this. That is not the way you will write. It will be in third person academic tone. You will provide a cover page. You will provide in-text citation for at least two per domain in your writing. And remember, the reason we use in-text citation is to give credit to our authors because we are using our textbook, which is written by Carbo and Marzano. Now, and then you're going to end with a reference page. Your reference page should only have your textbook on there because all of your information for this assignment should come from your textbook and nowhere else. Now, you should use headings to organize your writing and make sure you've answered the requirement. That heading is basically you're going to type out the question and then respond. And then the next page, you're going to type out the question and then respond. That is what that is what your headings are for. Now, your assignment should be no more than 4 pages. First page, cover page. Next 2 pages are your 2 questions. Fourth page, reference page. Please don't go over. I've said that a couple of times in these videos. Please don't go over the required page limit. Last thing is your rubric. If you are staying close to your rubric, you will get the total number of points listed. You are going to provide information that answers the questions for domain 3 and domain 4, and you will tie those back to your school scenario that you've selected. Now, for your formatting points, you will make sure you are not having a lot of grammatical errors. You included a cover page and a reference page, and you do not use no more than 4 pages when you submit this assignment for a total of 50 points. If you have any questions about any of the things here for this assignment, please don't hesitate to reach out with an email and I will respond as quickly as possible. If you follow the rubric and you follow the directions here, you should be very successful on this week's assignment. As we leave week 3, we will move into week 4. And guys, you have the exact same assignment. It's going to be looking at domains 5 and 6, which I will put up a video for that for next week. I just want to caution you to not get behind in these assignments. You would think that you have a lot of time, but with an 8-week course, the time goes by very swiftly. So please try your hardest to not get behind. It's going to be a great week. Stay warm as we have winter weather coming through. Have a great week, and I can't wait to read all of the responses you have in your written submissions. Thank you and have a great week. Bye-bye.